All right, guys, Dr. Shepard here, and today I want to talk to you about productivity tips that I actually find useful. So you'll see this stuff all over the internet, and everybody's got their tips for you. But if you've noticed, if you try some of them, they're really not all that helpful, and they're kind of fluffy and self-helpy and just not that great. So I have for you the tips that I actually use day to day as a doctor, as a mom, to help keep myself productive and motivated and disciplined and moving in the right direction and aligning myself with my goals and what I want to accomplish. So in this video, I'm going to give you 6 tips on how to be more productive that actually work. And stick around with me because at the end, I'll share with you my one big overarching tip that I find super helpful and is probably the one thing, if you don't do anything else in this video, try this tip and I promise it will change the way that you work. So if you haven't already, please hit subscribe, push the notifications bell so you get notified every time I post a new video, and hit like if you like these tips. Let me know in the comments if you tried any and how they worked for you. All right, so my first productivity hack is to make your workspace actually work for you. So for me, there's a couple things that I know will increase the likelihood that I'm actually going to use my workspace to be productive. And one of those things is I need to keep it clean and well organized, so I can get to stuff when I need to. And there's just something about a clean and organized space for your work that almost helps your mind get itself clean and organized so that you can be a little bit more productive. I found that if I have Post-it notes everywhere and papers all over the place and pens that don't work anymore, I'm just not going to be as productive. My mind is too cluttered by the presence of all of that stuff. And there's actually some research to back that up, showing that if you do have a clean and organized space, you're more attentive and you're more able to accomplish the tasks that you want to accomplish. Another thing that I use to make my workspace sort of work for me is to make it kind of enjoyable. So make it a nice workspace. I have my home office set up right in front of a window where I can look out at my backyard. I also like to use candles when I can. And I have one of my favorite plants hanging out with me. This bad boy's been with me since residency. Isn't it crazy looking? Anyways, I say that in like every video. I clearly really like this plant. But anyways, so it's something that kind of warms up my workspace and makes it a little bit happier. So what you're doing with all of this stuff is you're setting the tone for your work and you're allowing your mind to focus on the task at hand rather than all the clutter around you. So if your workspace is a hot mess, press pause, go clean it up, come back, and then we'll keep going. All right, productivity hack number 2. You want to do the hardest thing first thing in your day. So think about what tasks you tend to put off until later in the day, what your kind of least enjoyable tasks might be, and force yourself to do it first thing in the morning. I know it's a drag. It's not something you want to do, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult to motivate yourself, but when you're feeling fresh and like first starting off, it's actually a little bit easier than it will be, when you hit that afternoon slump around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So the best you can, push yourself to get that dirty work done earlier in the day, and you will be amazed at how much mental energy that cleans up for you. So you will then be able to focus so much better on the other tasks that you have to do because you're not spending all this mental energy worrying about this task that you have on your list that you really don't want to do. It also kind of does this snowball effect. So if you get this hard task done earlier in the day, you start to kind of feel like a superhero and you're like, yeah, man, I can do anything. So let me just tackle this next thing. So I found those days when I can really push myself to get it done early. Finishing that hard task first thing in the morning sets me up for a really great day. And it does not have to be something like, okay, write 20 pages of my essay that's due in a week. No, that's too much. But doing something like making that phone call that you know is going to be kind of difficult, or making those few little changes and just committing to finishing the video that you're working on, Just get it done first thing and you will thank me later. All right, so to help you do that task and to do other tasks, we'll go on to productivity hack number 3, which I've borrowed from Mel Robbins. So if you guys don't know who Mel Robbins is, definitely go check her out. She's kind of a badass, and she's a great source of solid, reliable, evidence-based self-help. So the first time I was introduced to any of her advice was in her book, The 5-Second Rule. And what she talks about in the 5-second rule is not the picking up candy off of the ground and eating it thing, but she talks about using a countdown from 5 as basically a mental distraction and a pause button to kind of push you over the edge into doing a task that's difficult for you. And it sounds super simple, and it is super simple, but if you listen to her book, she'll explain some of the science behind it and why it works. And I actually do find it really helpful in day-to-day life. So how you implement this tip, and I'm sure she has great YouTube videos on this too, so pop over there and listen to hers. But basically what she tells you to do is when you have a thought pop into your head about something that you need to accomplish or you want to do, count it down. So start 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, and then do the thing. So the reason you're counting is to kind of distract your mind from that period of time between thinking I need to do this thing and actually doing it, where you're coming up with all of these distractions and all of these reasons why you shouldn't do it and all of these reasons why you don't want to do it, and you're just counting and going. I've also found it's kind of I don't know if y'all ever did this, but when I was young and we used to go swimming in the summertime, we would go in the mornings sometimes for our swim team practice, and the water would be super cold in the morning. So I always had to count myself down to actually do it and just jump in. And once I jumped in, the water, feels a lot warmer because you get acclimated to it super fast, but you kind of have to push yourself over that hump to get the thing done. So that's one of my tips that you can use for difficult tasks. You can also use it for sort of more mundane tasks or things that you just don't feel like doing, but you know that you have to do it, such as cleaning, laundry. For me as a physician, writing notes, it's so boring. That's the kind of stuff that I have to count myself down into doing. All right, we're on productivity hack number 4. And if you've stuck with me this far, definitely keep sticking with me, because we're gonna go over some of the most important tips that I have for enhancing your productivity. And this is something that can be used whether you are a business person and you just need to get things done around the office, if you're a stay-at-home mom and you need to get things done around the house, or with your kids, you need to convince somebody else that they should do something, you can use these tips. You can also use them if you are a student. So this is where I learned to honestly first employ a lot of these tips, was in medical school when I was just studying constantly and I had to figure out a way to get myself to hang in there for really long periods of time with material that sometimes could be a little bit dry. So without further ado, productivity hack number 4 is something called the Pomodoro Technique. So check out the Pomodoro Technique. This is also a tip that has a lot of science behind it. And basically the idea is that you are focusing your attention for a short period of time and a defined period of time, and then taking a short break. So people do this in various increments. One setup that tends to work well for people is 25 minutes of focused activity and then 5 minutes of break time. Another one that I used to use in medical school was 50 minutes of focused activity with a 10-minute break time. So I had time to do things like go to the bathroom, check my phone, whatever else I might want to do. So in part, this works because you're giving your brain a finish line and you're saying, okay, you only have to focus this hard for 25 minutes and then you are free to goof off for 5 minutes. But it doesn't matter. That part doesn't matter. It doesn't get all that upset about the fact that it's only 5 minutes. And these breaks can be extra super duper helpful if you get up and move around. So As you probably know, physicians take a lot of exams during our lifetime. So we're taking exams from, grade school up until even after we're done with residency, we're done with our licensing exams. We still have to take board certification exams every 10 years, and those last about 8 hours at a time. So it can be kind of a drag to get through them. But with those and with just studying in general or doing anything that requires your attention for a chunk of time like that, I find that just getting up and moving around and just like, or, I used to do jumping jacks in the bathroom during exams because it would help me kind of jazz myself up to get focused again. So moving around during your breaks can be super helpful. And you also want to use your break time to get any materials together that you might need for your workspace. So say you want a drink of water, go and get that during your break so that when you sit down, you can really focus on the task at hand. There are Pomodoro timers that you can get on the App Store for free, but you can also just set your own timer for this. And it's super important that you commit to sort of eliminating other distractions during this 25 or 50-minute period, however long you want to make it. And no, 5 minutes on and 25 minutes of break doesn't count. It's not allowed. You really want to actually commit to focusing for that period of time. So you may need to do uncomfortable things like detach your phone from your body and put it somewhere else. I know it makes me really uncomfortable too, but if you do it, it's super freeing. And hey, you can use the Mel Robbins 5-second rule to convince yourself to put your phone somewhere else. Productivity hack number 5. So I find it super helpful to trick my brain by basically telling myself that I don't really have to do that much. So what I say is that, okay, Melissa, I know you are not at all interested in writing this note right now. That's fine. That's okay. You don't have to, girl. You deserve a break. Just go ahead and pull it up. Write just the HPI. So like just the beginning part. And then you can stop. You can quit. You can put it away. And that works great because my brain's like, okay, cool. I can handle that. That's just a little bit. But then once I have it up and I start rolling with it and I get that HPI done, I'm like, well, I might as well finish this and that and the other. And before I know it, I've done my notes and I'm happy and I can go and enjoy time with my daughter. It sounds silly because your brain knows what you're doing, but it still works for some reason. I don't know. Right, so we're in the home stretch. Productivity hack number 6. I almost just put up 5 fingers, but it's number 6. So productivity hack number 6 is going to be to take care of yourself physically during times when you need to be productive. And I know this sounds obvious and it sounds like the standard advice because it is and it works. So I want you to actually get some sleep if you can before you need to be productive. You really do need to stay well hydrated. So even if we just get slightly dehydrated, that makes our brains much less able to function effectively. So it's actually one of the things I tell my patients with dementia, like Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease dementia, Lewy body dementia, all of those things. I tell patients that they need to make sure that they are hydrating themselves adequately. And adequately almost always means more than you think you should. And the reason being that our brains are made up of so much water that when we get dehydrated, even just a little bit, it causes significant impairments in our ability to focus and think. Another good tip is to make sure that you're feeding yourself properly. So I always keep a bag of almonds at my desk because that is a great brain food to keep you full and keep you focused. I am not sponsored by Kirkland Almonds, but would be more than happy to be if you guys would reach out to me. Call me. So those were my 6 productivity hacks that I think are most helpful in day-to-day life and hacks that I actually use every single day. So for my last tip, my bonus tip, we are going to talk about what I think is probably one of the most life-changing productivity hacks that I've ever done. And that is set a morning intention. So what does that mean to set a morning intention? So what you are going to do before you sit down for your work for the day, you sit down and you come up with an overarching goal. So this is not like a timeline or a plan or like a set of boxes that you need to check. That can certainly be helpful for some people, and I use that as well, but I'm talking an overarching goal. So for example, when I was studying for some of my standardized testing, what I would write might be, I'm going to study the cardiopulmonary system today and learn everything that I can to ace this test and be an awesome doctor. So that is something that kind of gets you in the right frame of mind to focus on what tasks you want to accomplish. And it kind of helps keep you centered for the day. So I know, like, now being a mom, it is so easy to get pulled in 4,000 different directions during the day. But if I start off my morning by setting this intention and kind of giving myself a guidepost for the day, it's easy to say, okay, yes, it's very tempting to clean up this room right now, but that's not my intention right now. And I need to go and do the things that will allow me to fulfill my intention. It might be my intention tomorrow to organize the house and have a nice, tidy, clean space to live in, but today is not the day. We're doing what I need to focus on. And then, you know, if there's time after and I want to do something during a break, then by all means, go for it. You can just sort of think about your intention, but it's definitely more effective if you write it down. And writing it down first thing in the morning, so I do this like while I'm drinking my coffee before the baby wakes up. Writing it down first thing in the morning can be so helpful because then you have it to refer to the rest of the day. And I actually take my planner where I write this down and I put it on my desk next to my computer, whether I'm in the office or at home, and that way it's sitting there staring me right in the face so I can't forget what my intention was for that day. All right, so thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope these tips were helpful and I hope you guys give them a try. So give them a try and let me know what you think, because these are tips that have actually been super helpful for me, and I feel like I owe a lot of my medical school and residency success to actually accomplishing things using these tips. So they are tried and true. And let me know in the comments if you end up using any of them, how it went, or if you want any more details or have questions about this. Again, let me know and I will make a video on it. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining me. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys soon.